Alright guys, how you guys doing? Welcome to Apple Weekly number 35. I know, apologies for not putting one up last week. Hopefully I'll make it up by doing a double whammy in this episode here. But this is a show, for those of you who don't know, where I cover everything Apple, what's going on with Apple in the media, you know, what rumours have come out, and generally talk about it. And hopefully, by you listening or watching this, you can kind of give me feedback as to what you think as to what the rumours are. So make use of the comment box below, or if you're in iTunes, just leave a review. You can view this podcast through YouTube, and you can also, view it through your iPod or your iPhone. So you're on the way to work or college, simply just have it on your iPhone. It's a breeze, just through iTunes, listen to in podcast format, and you're all good to go, making the train or bus journey even more exciting, I hope. And just before we start guys, I'd like to say thanks to our sponsor, parcelmonkey.com. Go give them a check. Links are in the description. Before getting into the meaty news, take a look at this. What do you think? That looks quite beastly. This is the bike which Apple provides to its employees at the HQ or Cupertino HQ, where employees get to drive or transport or just, from one campus to the other instead of driving. Of course, it's a bicycle, so it's eco-friendly. But just looking at the design, that is, it just sums everything up what Apple is for, which is simple. If you take a look at my bike, it's got, about a million different colours, stickers and so on, and my bike would, hammer Steve Jobs' version any day of the week. The first story of this week is MacBook batteries are in trouble, or somewhat. A guy has found out how to, hack into someone's Mac and then cause the battery to overheat and explode. Now the way Apple works with their MacBooks is you can't physically remove a battery yourself. It's it's really built into the system and it's controlled, so when you put your charger in, it's only going to charge if it requires charging. It's not going to charge just the sake of charging. And this is one of the good things where Apple's battery performance is kind of high up, than other manufacturers, because they've really worked it out, the software and the hardware, going together. But that in essence is kind of a downside, because this hack or this exploit allows the hacker to kind of not charge or overheat the battery in your Mac, and in essence it could just overheat so much your Mac will go on fire or explode. The guy is going to bring out a fix in the next month, but that is quite scary. I've never seen it happening. He's just said it can happen, and he has tried it apparently, but there's some sort of hacker forum coming up in the next few weeks where he will reveal as to what the actual fix is for this. Is this the next generation iPod Touch 5G? It's just a different colour, isn't it? The thing with the iPod Touch, and I've said this before, is the friggin' device is already so thin. What on earth are they going to actually do when it comes with thinness? There's kind of some obsession with Apple and just slimming things down, making it thin, thin, thin. The only thing I can think they're going to probably do is redesign it. But is it going to happen this year? I think not. I think they'll kind of, bring one more colour out, up the camera, possibly the screen, even although it's Retina display. But if they can make it even better, I'm all up for that. Boost the graphics and not do many external changes. So here's my question to you guys: what would you like to see in the iPod Touch now that the iPod Classic and the Shuffle and the Nanos are, kind of losing in terms of units sold, and sales aren't that high when compared to the iPod Touch? What would you like to see? And it's about Apple retail stores, and in specific in China. Now there's two kind of Apple retail stores. You've got the Apple authorized reseller, which Apple kind of authorizes a third party to say, okay, we'll supply you Apple goods. And then there's the second one, which is the main one, which is Apple stores run by Apple themselves. They choose the management, locations, they do all the funding, and then put a team in place to run that store. But this store in China, there's 5 of them. 2 have been shut down, and they are exact copies of an actual Apple retail store. Everything from the layout of the Macs, the tables, the floors, the interior design, the clothes the employees are wearing are identical to an Apple retail store. It's ridiculous. One going into that store could not tell if this was an original one or a fake one. 2 of these stores, since this story emerged, have been closed down, but they've not been closed down because they found to be kind of, you know, replicating or copying Apple, but they've shut down simply because the Chinese government have said they don't have legal permits to, you know, run their business. While the other 3 stores are still, you know, in operation, they're still trying to determine whether Apple did indeed file legal papers in terms of copyright and IPs and so on. So it's going to see as to how well this turns out, but is this funny as to how they've managed to copy the exact design of an Apple retail store. How the experience is, I've never actually been to one, so if you have been to one of these fake Apple stores, post a comment below and tell us how it went. So Lion came out last week, it sold record, I think it sold about 1 million copies within like 48 hours or within a couple of days, which is absolutely insane. One of the reasons, I guess, is because the price is, you know, quite reasonable, £20 and you're getting a full OS, which is quite cool. But that is not the main thing of the story. A customer got charged over 100 times for Lion, and PayPal is to blame and Apple are also to blame. Apple has since then refunded the guy in question, and there's been others. It's not just one isolated case, there's been quite a few people who have posted on forums. So if you have purchased Lion, look at your credit card or your debit card or your bank statements to see if you've been charged more than once, and if you have, ring Apple customer relations and make sure they kind of take care of you. This next story is on the iPhone 5. Over the past 2 weeks, the number of cases that I've came across to be the supposed iPhone 5 are insane, and here are some of them. Apparently they are available across China. Every manufacturer has pretty much got a hold of it, and the case business for iPhones are, you know, is quite big. There could be a leak. Whenever there's a new Apple product, or specifically an iPod Touch or an iPhone, case manufacturers do get a hold of it somehow. You know, someone in the company leaks it, or just generally, I don't know how they get hold of it, but there's been people in the past within Apple who have supplied it to third party or factories for a large sums of money. They've been caught out over the past few months, and I've reported that in the previous Apple Weeklies. The most likely scenario is that we're going to see a new iPhone come September. The usual time frame for an iPhone release is June, July. It never happened this year, and I can't see Apple going through a period of the holiday season without no iPhone, which is the kind of top seller. So is an iPhone due? Yes, I put money on it that a new iPhone is coming out in the next few months. Whether we see an iPad 3 or not, I don't really care, to be honest, but an iPhone 5 is definitely due, and if you've just bought an iPhone 4, you might want to take it back and reconsider. Sure, you'll be happy for now when you get the iPhone 4, but come next month, because these rumours are intensifying, you're going to be disappointed come September. It's not too far away. If these are the rumours going on right now, imagine what will be more near the time. Specifically, Apple has blacked out dates for Apple retail stores in the UK and others, and that basically means where, you know, employees can't take time off because you know, something big is happening, and they need all employees on the deck. And usually when there's an iPhone launched, I don't need to tell you, but there's queues and queues, and so many people buy it, so they need all employees to hand. More so, AT&T in the United States, they've blacked out the end of August or the start of September as well. And an employee from AT&T wrote to Gizmodo and said that when this happens, or when this has happened in the past, it's for an iPhone launch. Adding to this, the iPhone 3GS, which is also being sold alongside the iPhone 4 at present, is on limited stock. Apple have stopped kind of building them, supplying them to stores, to resellers. It's going to be discontinued, and hopefully that is a good indication that come the next few weeks or months we will be seeing a new addition to the lineup, which I am pretty excited for. Next up is Apple TV, and Apple call this their hobby, but we all know it's more than just a hobby, and it's done pretty well for itself in terms of numbers sold. 480,000 sold in Q2 alone. The price of it is just fantastic, £99. I think they've just hit the nail with it, and that's, I guess, is one of the reasons why people have bought them, because it's quite affordable than what it was in the previous generations. Competitors have struggled. Google recently reported they had more returns than actual sales in that specific quarter, which is a fail. They've slashed their prices. But coming back onto Apple TV, a specific analyst have said that Apple aren't going to be doing any changes to the hardware itself in the next few months. Of course, September is the time frame where, you know, Apple TV usually goes an update, or has in the past, but we're not going to see one this year. So much for the 1080p playback. But again, it's an analyst, they're not always right. In fact, most of the times they're wrong anyway. So I think coming near to the time, it might just be a quiet bump. It might not be a bump at all. But you know, I'm not really hoping for an Apple TV per se, like a box. I want a full TV by Apple. So will that happen this year or will it happen next year? I'm not too sure. And lastly, the juiciest story of this week: ultra portable MacBook Pros. Wow, this is something that is of interest to me. I'm really excited where this is going. Of course, we were expecting the MacBook Pros to undergo a major refresh, or redesign, sorry, in February of this year. It never happened. There were a lot of reports about liquid metal being used. The MacBook Pro unibodies have kind of been going on since late 2008. So it really is due for a major refresh, especially after the MacBook Airs were released last year in 2010, where Apple said, you know, this is the direction of all MacBook lineups from Apple, and specifically the flash storage. So I would love a MacBook Pro, the size of a MacBook Air, but still the juice of a MacBook Pro, if that makes sense. And by that I mean quad-core processors, you know, the choice of upgrading your machine. The MacBook Airs are locked in, so you can't upgrade the RAM, and you can't really change the flash storage, or you can, but you've got to, you know, there's quite a lot of hassle in terms of upgrades to the MacBook Air. But the MacBook Pro is known for, you know, customization, upgrading at a future date. Want to put more RAM in 6 months down the line? Fair enough. I would love if they just took out the super drive as well, which I think is, you know, what's going to happen since they've taken out the Mac Mini. So it's only a matter of time where they remove it from the MacBook Pros too. But I'll leave the hardware aside since I've covered it many times before. What do you want to see in the MacBook Pro redesign? Leave it in the comments below. The main thing is here to me is, when is this going to happen? Is it going to happen this year or is it going to happen next year? Mac rumours and the unofficial Apple weblog say it's going to possibly be before Christmas, which is quite good. Is that likely? I think not. You know, Apple do have a back to Mac event usually in the October timeframe, so could we see one then? Possibly. But simply going by, you know, the whole iPhone and iPad 3, whether they would really want to, you know, have three products in just 1 quarter, I'm not too sure, because we all know when the next MacBook Pro gets refreshed, it's definitely going to be a redesign. Hence, it's going to be a big launch, or I say a big launch, but it's going to be a big, you know, change in the lineup. The iPad 3 is still 50-50 whether it's going to happen, and iPhone 5 is definitely going to happen, as you know, I've reported earlier in this video. Hell yes, I would love it to come before Christmas, but being realistic, I think it's going to be early next year when the MacBook Pros get refreshed. But guys, that's it for this week in Apple. I hope you liked it. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment to let me know, you know, any feedback from these stories, what you would like to see in the MacBook Pro, the iPhone 5, the iPod Touch. And remember, you can join me on iGlaswegian.com, twitter.com/i6glaswegian. I've also got a Facebook fan page, facebook.com/iGlaswegian. If you're looking to get yourself one of these iGear jackets, then you can do so by visiting iGear.com, and yes, that is product placement right here. But guys, I appreciate you sitting through this. You guys watching on iTunes, if you can leave a rating for this podcast, that would be great. As always guys, I will see you guys in another life. Cheers. Looking to send a package at the lowest price possible? Simple. Visit parcelmonkey.co.uk, follow these 4 simple steps, have the package collected from your doorstep, and then sit back and relax.